When you look at how the president has behaved so far, does it have a market impact because it has an impact on the election, or is it just too soon to say?
The market impact is through the impact on the election. It's sort of a cliche to say that the markets want Trump to win because he'll cut taxes, because if you kind of analyze that, the government finances are in such a mess with COVID everywhere in the world that big tax cuts just aren't really very credible. Biden is seen as more pro-regulation, and maybe that's market negative, but really what the markets want to avoid here is a close election. They don't almost really care who wins. They don't want a close election which drags on with lots of rancor and lots of uncertainty. And actually, in that regard, the market started to firm up a little bit after the presidential debate, because the polling is now showing Biden opening up a pretty large lead. Now, how the president's illness plays into that's really hard to judge. On the one hand, obviously, if he were to become seriously ill, that's a sort of uncertainty the markets also don't want. On the other hand, it could be that there's a large sympathy vote, as sort of happened in the UK when Boris Johnson was ill, and that could result in the election becoming closer, and the markets don't really want it. So it's another layer of uncertainty on top of the uncertainty that was already there.
So, Trevor, first of all, what do you think is priced in the markets right now? And when you talk about, the market not wanting a close call, are they worried about, contentious election because it's too close to call, or are they actually worried about political gridlock?
I think it's more the too close to call and a period of uncertainty as knowing who's in charge, and the sort of impact that would have, I think, on society at large in America. If you had this long, nasty dispute going on, such a polarized society at the moment. So if you kind of think back to I think it was the 2000 election, when it wasn't until December that a final victory was announced. It could be election month rather than election week. And that's what the markets are most concerned about. And if you're trying to hedge against volatility in November, you'll find it's more expensive than December or October.
What I don't understand, Trevor, is that even if there's, 2-3 days of squabbling over who won, or, concerns about giving power to someone else if Joe Biden were to win too closely, this gets resolved, right? I mean, the U.S. has institutions to deal with this kind of thing, don't they?
Well, they do, but you've got a president here who's not a typical president, and he's spent a lot of time saying to his base that postal votes are fraudulent. And the very strong likelihood here is that he'll do better on the night than he will do as the postal votes come in, because most pollsters will say they'll predominantly be Democrat postal votes. So he's setting up for the situation where it may even go to a legal challenge. He may try to involve the Supreme Court. I mean, the Supreme Court's got this Republican majority. It could just be really quite messy and uncertain. And in the end, it should get resolved. But markets don't like uncertainty while it's actually happening. And if it starts to create, people out on the streets in American cities, for example, which could happen over weeks and weeks of uncertainty, then that would actually also impact the economy. And that's, again, where the markets come back in.